Pittsburgh Steelers fans, welcome back to another episode of me screwing up the music because it didn't work right. Pittsburgh Steelers fans, welcome back to another episode of the Scho Bro Show. This is Steel Curtain Network editor Dave Schofield coming at you on a interesting Tuesday night. It's 9 o'clock. As a Steelers fan, I know where else you'd rather be. Maybe not here, but for those that are here, we're going to get through this together. And with me, as always, except when he's not, is my big brother, Rich. Rich, how are you?
I'm okay.
You're okay.
I'm okay.
Yeah. Sorry about the music. You know what happened? I turned off I turned off the loop before I switched over to our brand because we have our own sounds and everything else. And sometimes it glitches like that. When you make a switch, it'll go back, and sometimes it doesn't. It's hard to tell, but you know what? So we got to listen to the intro twice. It's great.
I was gonna say you can never go wrong with a little more Jerry Cherry Band.
yeah, we'll take more Jerry. Maybe we'll just throw it in the middle sometime, just to have it,
just for fun.
Yeah. All right. So, Rich, we have a lot to talk about, and just to put it out there, unfortunately, you didn't get to breathe one more time.
I did not get to breathe one more time.
Yeah. So the Pittsburgh Steelers season the season is over. The players cleaned out their lockers today. They had their final meeting. We're expecting a Mike Tomlin press conference. They haven't said for sure. I keep checking. Normally they announce through the Steelers media site when it's coming, and I don't have it yet. So to me, I expected it. It could have been today, maybe tomorrow. You know what? Might be Wednesday. Tomorrow is Wednesday. Might now be Thursday. I don't know. But when it is, we'll have it covered here at Steel Curtain Network. But we'll hear from Coach Tomlin. But before we get into that, we can say this. I know there's going to be a lot of discussion and everything with where the Steelers are going from here. We might discuss that a little bit, but there's going to be a lot of time to discuss that. We've got a long off season. We're going to kind of wrap up this season is what we're going to kind of focus on this week. And it's not that anything in the future is off limits. It's just not going to be the focus.
The focus, right.
But
we'll have a lot of time to focus on that.
Yes. Because there's exciting things to talk about there.
Yes. But we want to take this show and spend more of the time wrapping up and putting a bow on the end of the 2023 season.
Yes.
So finish that up so that when we start to talk about next year, we can fully move our focus to next year. But we want to wrap up this year since we just finished it.
Exactly. And I'm going to go ahead and bring this up because I saw it earlier. This is from Steel Dog 88. It says, Steelers fan. Sorry, did I say fan or fam? It was supposed to be fam.
I couldn't tell.
Steelers fam. There, I'll enunciate better. On to 2024. I'm over the loss already. Was not totally surprised. Excited to see what this offseason brings. BT Dub, go Texans. Steel Dog 88, we need more of you. And you know what? I have a feeling our live chat's going to be filled with a lot of people like you, but there'll be some that aren't. And that is this. Rich, you said it to me before we went on the air, and I want you to say it here. And it's what you said to me about expectations, a week ago versus how we responded to the Steelers game.
Yeah. Now I can't say this because I can't go back and go online and pick out specific people here, there, or anything else. But last week before the game, there was just so much talk within Steeler Nation of, hey, our expectations aren't high for this team. Could they go into Buffalo and pull off an upset? They could. Also would not be surprised if they went into Buffalo and lost a close game. Also would not be surprised if they went into Buffalo and got the doors blown off.
which to me, we'll get to this more. What they did was in between the two things you just said.
Correct. Actually, put it to you this way.
Acted like they got their doors blown off. They didn't. It just didn't start well. Go ahead. We'll talk about that more.
Well, it's funny. I'll go ahead and bring up something Kyle said this morning. Ready?
Okay.
Hey, of the Super Wild Card weekend,
you're going to see what I said.
The Steelers played in the second closest game there was.
I'm trying to think. Did I even tweet that? And he saw it? No, but that's what I was saying to my wife last night. I'm like, you do realize out of all the games, the Steelers game was the second closest game of Wild Card weekend, with the closest obviously being the Rams and Lions. But the Steelers, it was the next closest. And I'll get to the end of that game. Let's go back to what you were to what we were saying as we're getting off on things.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is there were a lot of people last week that were talking about, hey, expectations weren't. People were saying expectations weren't. I mean, they were up there because we wanted to see the Steelers play at least decently, but there wasn't a whole lot of expectation. Only for me to come to find that after the game, all that stuff that a lot of fans were saying before the game was just lip service.
Yes.
Because they went nuts.
Yeah, and this is kind of why I'm a little bit excited for this show, because it's now been more than 24 hours. And I'm hoping that people, in the pure emotion of it all after the game, now we're coming back and thinking of it a little bit more level-headedly. I'll be honest, I'll call him out. I wasn't very happy with Jeff Hartman before we even went on for the post-game show, because that's how he was being. And I'm just like, Jeff, you're acting like this was this was a complete blowout like we've seen in the last several. And this was not like the last several playoff games. Did they get behind big? They did. But the reason to me it wasn't the same, this wasn't 38-3. The last time they played the Buffalo Bills, they got their doors blown off, and they never even gave a little bit of fight. They did fight with this one. They did come back and fight more.
Yeah.
So that's to me why it was different. And I'm just like, but I know everyone's caught up in the emotion, and I try not to do that. I'm caught up in the emotion more of being very sad that I have to wait 7 freaking months to watch the Steelers play a football game again. And that's just to get to the preseason.
Yep.
That's why I'm sad. That's why I'm in my mourning period. And it's bad now. It'll get really bad after the Super Bowl because there'll be no football at all.
Right.
So that's me. I'm sad that I'm not going to get to see the Pittsburgh Steelers. And when there was 2 minutes left in the game and the Steelers had the ball down 14, I knew they weren't going to win. But you know what I really wanted to see?
I wanted to see him go score a touchdown.
No, I really wanted to see an onside kick.
Yes.
I wanted to see the Steelers go down, get a score, go for the onside kick, not get it because statistically that just doesn't happen. I wasn't holding out crazy hope for the onside kick, and then the game be over. I wanted to see one more touchdown from my team. That's what I was thinking of right there, because this is the last chance going to. That's why I was a little bit frustrated. Yeah, put him over 100 rushing yards when Mason Rudolph on the last play of the game took off to get the first down. I'm like, you got the first down, but there's not going to be time to run another play. You should have at least thrown it into the end zone or something like that. I wanted to see them, and that's the only drive the whole game they were pushing it down the field. So we'll get to that a little bit more. So to me, you're like, oh, well, they were down 21-0 and blah. Yeah, they were.
Yep.
But they played even in every quarter score-wise after the first quarter. They just lost the first quarter. And
to me, they lost the first. They lost. I was going to say 2 things glaring that I think made them lose that first quarter so bad. Okay. Yeah. 2 things. An initial first quarter struggle with covering the tight ends.
Yeah.
Added into the George Pickens fumble.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, you can't lose the turnover battle. I mean, and if you listen to Jeff's winners and losers this morning, he said about the Steelers couldn't turn the ball over at all, which I get, but you definitely couldn't lose the battle. And coming into this game, the Steelers had been really good at protecting the ball. And Josh Allen had been pretty loose with the ball. But you give that you give that guy a 14-point lead, and he's going to protect it very well while still playing. And that's what the Steelers did.
Right.
They put themselves in a situation where it got that much harder to get a takeaway.
Yes. You get the takeaways on Josh Allen when you keep the game either within 2 or 3 points, one way or the other, or you get a lead. That's when you get Josh Allen making mistakes. You give Josh Allen a 14 or 21-point lead, it's not happening.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's funny because you get stuff like, Mark Cabali's like the Steelers, they're the same struggle. Why don't they have an answer for covering the tight ends? Okay. Remember this. The Steelers went out and got good pass defending linebackers. But they got 3 linebackers. And the third guy was the guy that they're like, we're not going to put him on the field when it's going to be a pass. That guy, because of injuries, ended up being their best pass defending linebacker.
Yes.
You kind of want to know where these things went. That's where they went. That's 1. 2, not very happy with Terrell Austin, because I asked KT Smith if he could break this down for me. Why in the world is the Steelers defense so much worse with Minkah Fitzpatrick?
Yeah.
Why is it worse with Minkah Fitzpatrick? Why can they win games when he's out and lose them when he's there? I don't think that's Minkah Fitzpatrick. I don't think that's Minkah Fitzpatrick.
I agree. I don't think it is. I think they changed their scheme or changed some of the things they do when he's on the field. And exactly. I don't think it's as good of scheme.
Well, I don't even know that if it's as good a scheme.
No. It doesn't work for it doesn't towards me. It doesn't work as well for some of the other players.
Oh, exactly.
Like, the scheme might be geared and it might be good for Minkah. But in being good for Minkah, it brings down so much from some of the other players that then the defense overall is worse.
The way KT said he's going to, I asked him, I said, will you look into this for me this offseason? I said, I'm not a secondary guy. Okay. KT played safety. He was a strong safety. That's what Kevin played. So that's why I want him to break it down and answer that question. And he said off the top of his head, he'll have to, provide some stuff to look at it, is when Minkah wasn't in there, they simplified things for everybody else. So if playing a simplified defense for everybody else worked, and it was more complex when Minkah was there, and it didn't work, what does that tell you?
What they have when Minkah's in there doesn't work for everybody else.
Yeah, it's they talk about, breakdowns in communication and things like that. Well, you get those things when you're dealing with your more complex defense. Maybe you needed to, maybe with Minkah, not that it couldn't be more complex, but maybe they just took it too far.
Yeah.
Just took it too far. Look at the 4 touchdowns that the Steelers gave up. The first 2 were coverage breakdown, either based on communication or something else. Both of the ones at the tight ends.
Yes.
There's no way Miles Jack was supposed to be covering the tight end in the middle of the field, 30 yards downfield on that second touchdown.
Correct.
that far
with no over the top help,
with nothing there.
Yep.
Something wasn't right there. Or if it was right, what were the Steelers thinking? If that was actually what was supposed to be happening. Exactly. It's either they broke down, it was either a breakdown of execution or a breakdown in play call. Because honestly, you should have been anticipating a shot down the field right after the takeaway. That's what teams generally like to do.
Yep.
If anything, if you're going to take a shot of doing something crazy, do it on the next play. Say, all right, this first one, look for the shot down the field to turn it around quick. The Steelers used to, even more when Ben Roethlisberger was quarterback. Oh, you get a takeaway, you're inside the 30-yard line, we're going end zone very first play. We're going down.
Yep.
So the first 2 touchdowns were breakdown in communication and coverage. The second 2 touchdowns were breakdown in fundamentals and tackling.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh. I know you saw what I said. Patrick Peterson didn't want to lay a hand on everybody. That dude a couple times looked like he almost took bad angles on purpose so he wouldn't have to try to tackle somebody.
I'll be honest with you. I didn't think about it until it happened. But Patrick Peterson transitioned pretty well from corner to safety several weeks ago.
Yep.
The transition from safety to corner, not so much. Even though it was back to his normal position, not so much. I think Patrick Peterson's NFL career right now is safety or bust.
Yeah. I think his
days as safety or retire.
An NFL corner, I think, are done.
Yes. And honestly, I thought he did a fine job at safety. But going from safety to corner, back to corner, things didn't work out very well. So yeah. So interesting stuff. So I don't know which way to go right now. I don't know if we should keep talking more about the game or everything else. Obviously, let's talk about more about the game. We'll talk more about.
I got a couple more things about the game I'd like to talk about. Yes.
Yeah. So,
can I ask you your thought on something?
What's that?
On the 52-yard Josh Allen run, was that a deke slide?
Yes, it was. I don't know that he did it. Let's just say this. I don't know that he did it to fake people out like Kenny Pickett did back in college. I think
he went to slide and saw an opening.
Slide and then saw an opening and thought he should keep going.
Yep. But I bet that ends up being addressed by the NFL. It almost has to be, because you can't put and hand out all these heavy fines to defensive players and then have something like that happen. And it's going to have to be taken care of in the NFL by basically saying, if the officials determine that you start to go into a slide and then change your mind, they're going to go ahead and blow the play dead.
Yeah.
Kind of like unevaded to the quarterback.
Yes.
If you start to go to that side, they're going to blow the play dead right as you start to do that.
Yep.
Otherwise, you just worry that, again, I still think that one the other night was a total, I'm getting ready, I'm going to slide, and then realize, holy crap, if I cut it back, I'm wide open, and changed his mind.
Actually, I think he was getting a block that I don't think he thought he was going to get.
Yeah. Now, if he doesn't give that deke, does he gain more yards? Yes. Does he score? I don't think so.
I don't think so. And it doesn't mean that they wouldn't have scored on that drive.
No. I'm just right, because I just talked that particular play. You know. When I saw it, the first thing I thought was he was going to slide, and then he didn't. And at first I thought, wait a minute, they're not allowed to. Oh wait, that's college.
And then, but that really set up the later penalty on Miles Jack.
Yes.
Because what's he supposed to do? Not go after him and then him do the same thing again?
Right. Exactly.
But we know, I mean, we can complain about it, but in all honesty, the problem is the NFL and the way they shape the rules. The quarterbacks get 100% protection. Everything is laid at the feet of the defense. And bottom line is, if you have to hesitate and then he takes off and scores a touchdown, so be it. That's better for the NFL anyway.
Yeah, we'd rather have the touchdowns than hurting our quarterbacks.
So everything is stacked up against the defense. I want to get caught up, but I wanted to bring up one thing from Brent Howell. He says, proud of how this team played, didn't quit, but easily could have. I had thrown in the towel after the Indy game, but they didn't.
Yep, I'd done the same there, Brent. I'd thrown in the towel after the Indy game and thought,
I just didn't have any confidence that they could get it done.
Yeah. Oh, I was like, won't have to worry about the playoffs. Playoffs. And they ended up making the playoffs. You know,
they ended up making what?
Playoffs.
Yeah. Hey, and it's one of those people would say, "Oh, but it was in and won and done and this and that." And I'm like, look, if you'd have told me at the beginning of the season, like before, into the preseason, or actually, back in training camp, if you would have told me that the Steelers would go 10-7 and make the playoffs,
sign me
happy. Yep, I'd have said, sign me up.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I have no issues. Well, I won't say no issues, but I've come to grips with how this season ended. But there are parts of the season that still bother me. There was some things going on in the middle of the season that I'd like to hope, based on what we saw towards the end, some things were worked out, but we won't know for certain until next year.
Yeah.
And some of what I would talk about there would be like, after the firing of Matt Canna, we go through a stretch and things look like they were kind of being worked out with the offensive scheme and the play calling.
Mm-hmm.
Until yesterday.
Well,
I got another question for you, actually.
Okay.
Because
I was going to talk about the slow start and stuff with that. Yeah. Go ahead.
Did you think that offensive game plan yesterday looked like it was actually a game plan that was set up for Sunday?
It was set up for Sunday. Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. The thing is, you could say it was set up for Sunday, or look at it this way. I think I'm putting the Steelers' slow start, and this is a little bit on both sides of the ball. More on offense, but you can't say not for defense. I think the Steelers' slow start was a preparation for the weather to have a greater impact in the game than what it did.
Yes.
They were prepared. I mean, they had just had it the week before of terrible weather. I think the Steelers over-prepared for the weather and didn't adjust when the wind wasn't as strong. Yes, it was cold. It wasn't nearly as windy. And you can deal with cold. Wind changes everything. Yeah. I mean, it's not that wind wasn't there at all, but it was not what it was originally going to be. It was probably about 3 or 4 times less. So to me, I think that you could say that it's, because, we could go back to our line from 2 years ago, don't live in your fears unless it's in the postseason.
Except for
and all those other stuff. The standard is the standard, unless it's the postseason. Next man up, but unless it's the postseason, all those different things. To me, this one you could say scared money don't make money unless it's in the postseason, because to me, the Steelers, I think, came out battling a foe that wasn't there in the terrible weather conditions.
Yes.
And therefore, then they had to adjust to see that they could actually do a little bit more. It just felt that way.
Yeah,
it was like
the Steelers didn't think they'd be able to do more on the offensive side, and on the defensive side, it was they were playing it that the Bills shouldn't be able to do more, and the Bills adjusted and were doing more.
Yeah, they were like they came out to play their game. Now, let's just say this, the game couldn't have been played on Sunday. It wasn't possible. There was no way to get even the teams there. It just wasn't going to happen.
So let me tell you what I was doing. So the week before for the Baltimore game, of course, I was getting to watch the pregame for the Baltimore game on WTAE.
Mm-hmm.
And they had this young girl, I think I talked about on the show last week, and her little dome umbrella and the struggle she went through. Well, she was in Buffalo. So I was following her on the Twixter.
Yeah, on the Twixter.
And you should have seen, Dave, what was crazy. She did a post, and it was not that bad. It was just starting to snow a little. The wind wasn't doing much. And you're thinking, really? And this was on Saturday evening, like just, I'd say, an hour before dark.
Mm-hmm.
And you're thinking, really? They're not going to play this game tomorrow? We moved this game, blah, blah, blah. She came on, it was like 26 minutes later, same place, in front of, at her hotel, and you would have thought she was standing on a different planet.
She was on Hoth.
That is how quickly it changed.
Yeah.
That, and, I like to talk about things. Buffalo is a very strange place. And for those of you that have never been through there in the wintertime, some people could say it's almost otherworldly. It can be.
Yeah.
Okay.
You could say the same thing about any of those places that are right there directly close to the lakes, like even Syracuse.
Yes. Oh, you get up Watertown. Oh,
yeah.
On up just north of Syracuse. But
and you could be getting 2 inches of snow, and 3 miles down the road you're getting 2 feet of snow.
Okay, and that's what I was going to actually talk about. So at one point in time, when I worked at, I have a former RA that worked for me when I was at Binghamton University. She's a lawyer, and they have an office in Buffalo that sometimes she'll be in that office and she'll post stuff. And a couple years ago, she was doing video out of her office where you could see this lake effect band getting ready to come on shore. And she got snow at her office, but you could really tell that just a couple blocks away was just getting pounded. And when it was all said and done, at the end of the day, she'd gotten 2 to 3 inches at their office, and 2 blocks away had gotten 1.5 feet.
Yeah, that's why I kept telling people, don't look at the forecast for Buffalo, for downtown. You got to look at Orchard Park.
Yeah, which is not that close.
A lot worse, huh?
And it is not that close to downtown.
No, it's not. It's 11 or 12 miles of 20-minute drive.
Yeah, I was going to say about 12 miles.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's just crazy how it works. But no, they couldn't have played that game on Saturday. But let's say the weather conditions would have been something between, Sunday. If the weather conditions would have been between what it would have been on Sunday, what it ended up being on Monday. Let's see if it was somewhere in between. Okay, more wind and some snow coming down, but not to where you couldn't see.
Yeah,
I think the Steelers would have been better prepared than Buffalo, because Buffalo seemed like they're going to try to do whatever they could do otherwise and adjust the weather as the game went. The Steelers tried to adjust to the weather with their game plan, and then get to going more. So it just didn't favor what they did. And, you should have adjusted that before kickoff. You really should have.
Yeah. You'd have thought. But, it just didn't happen that way. Okay? Okay. Sometimes the cards align, or, the cards come out, or you could say the stars align, or however you want to do it. Okay? It just didn't for the Steelers. Yeah. Yesterday.
Yeah. And Thomas, you said, isn't it 5-10 miles north? It's actually southeast.
Southeast. Yes.
It's actually southeast of Buffalo. Like if I'm on my way to Niagara Falls, I go through Orchard Park before I get to Buffalo, coming from Maryland. So, It's a crazy place. But I do think that was something that the Steelers over anticipated for the weather. And it actually, I think, hurt them a little bit to start.
Yes.
To me,
okay.
The first drive, but honestly, the biggest thing that killed the Steelers in the first quarter, I'll tell you this: the batted passes.
Yeah.
Buffalo was getting their hands on the ball at the line of scrimmage. So it's really hard to judge what they were doing and how it would have been executed when balls kept getting deflected at the line of scrimmage.
Well, I started to wonder too. Did Buffalo, based on the field conditions, stop with their defense? Yeah. Did McDermott tell his guys, "Hey, look, it's not going to be easy to get home in these conditions, so we want to spend more time trying to get our hands on some passes"?
Yeah.
And if they did, that worked.
Yeah.
If that was a legitimate part of, it's going to be tougher to rush. The passer, they're probably expecting this.
Was it 2 or 3 in the first 2 drives? It was at least 2.
It was at
least 2. So two or 3. And that really hurt the Steelers early. So you could say maybe I just felt like they were planning more for the weather and adjust to it. But it could have just been the batted passes that really slowed things down. And the Steelers defense, they struggled to cover the tight ends right away. Don't know why. I mean, after the first quarter, the tight ends had 1 catch for 10 yards.
The tight ends, yeah, I know. It was funny.
I put that in my numbers article. They had 3 for 59 yards, I think, or 58 yards, something like that. 59.
And 2 touchdowns. Yep.
2 touchdowns in the first quarter, and then 1 more catch for 10 yards.
It was like the Steelers made an adjustment, which is good, but we made the adjustment after 14 points. That's bad.
Well, and the second of touchdown to the 14 points was off of a takeaway, off of a turnover. It just goes to show. It's funny, the Steelers lost by 14. Yeah, well, just remember, it was the second closest of any of the wild card games, but that doesn't really matter. But look at how many little things could have really changed that game to where the Steelers would have been in it so much more, or it could have even been even worse.
Yeah.
You could name 2 or 3 plays that could have the Steelers tied or ahead or had the Steelers down by 4 touchdowns. Really. So, hey, we're going to go ahead and take a break. We're going to come back. We're going to hit the super chat. We're going to talk a little bit more about. We wanted to talk some about the season as a whole. We're getting a little bit as everything goes on, but we are still talking about this game. I really want to talk about one thing with the defense.
I will have one other game-related thing that I'd like to bring up.
Okay, so do I. And we will do that after the break. So you're with us here, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, not going anywhere. If you're with us on the audio side, we'll be right back after this message. All right, Steelers fan, hopefully it was more than just one message. It was these messages. I kind of messed that up, but that's okay. Rich, here we go. Steel Dog 88, $5 into the tip jar. Man, Steel Dog, you had so many other good comments. Then we have to do this one. Do you think Kenny watching Rudolph helps him more than watching Mitch from the very beginning? I don't know how much Kenny watching helps anything as much as Kenny playing.
Yeah, I don't know either. And honestly, there won't be any way of measuring that until we get into camp next year, honestly.
Yeah.
Even OTAs and mini camp, things like that won't even be a place where you can start to figure it out. It will take camp in the preseason to start to think, maybe he's learned some other things. The one thing I hope that he didn't learn from watching Mitch Trubisky is the constantly throwing the ball, falling backwards.
Yes. That's just annoying. Okay. Sorry, Dave. Didn't know if Mitch was the best to learn from. I'm just saying, Steel Dog had other things that weren't even super chats that I brought up, and then that was one I of course brought up. Thank you for the 5. Was it 5? $4.99? 5? What was it? 5. Yeah. But no. Just want to know if Mitch was the best. No, I don't think he was. But honestly, we talk about, and this is what frustrates me so much with Steelers fans. We think we know everything when we see maybe 20% of anything. Yeah. I've said this many times before. Okay. Mitch Trubisky might be a good example for Kenny Pickett in how to practice and prepare. But we don't see Mitch Trubisky practice and prepare. So how do we know? Okay. We don't. There's so many other things with the preparation and everything. And to think that, it doesn't matter how you practice. It only matters about how you play in a game.
We talking about practice. Not a game. We talking about practice.
Yeah. The thing is you're not, if you can't practice well, you're not going to play well in a game. I've seen times where as a coach, you had a terrible week of practice. You don't just all of a sudden turn it on for the game. You might do all right. I mean, there was times where, you're playing a team that you're supposed to beat by 40 points. And you just kind of have a la-di-da week of practice. And you come out next thing you know, that team's giving you a game.
Yeah.
Because you didn't practice well. And I have seen teams that have practiced very, very well. And they came out and maybe not lived up to what they did in practice. But more often than not, I see when a team practices well, they have a tendency to play well. And when they don't practice well, they don't play well. And that's so many times. That's funny. Afton says 20% seems high.
Actually, no, I think 20% is about right.
The reason I went with 20% was I figured 1/5. Even though they only practice 4 days a week, but then you think about meetings and everything. But yeah.
So then let me put this in a way then that might be easy to think about, right? A lot of people sitting here watching us live right now are sitting here looking at their computer screen, right?
Mm-hmm.
So imagine if 80% of the pixels on the screen were blurred.
Yeah.
Think about that a second.
Mm.
What would you really be seeing? And what then, if on top of that, 80% of what Dave and I were saying was bleeped out?
Yeah.
Which after a loss, sometimes it feels like it could be that way.
Yeah. Or we just have Tony's internet connection.
Yes. My internet connection from last week.
Your internet connection last week.
Yes. So think about if you're only seeing that tiny little, you don't have a clear picture. You don't have a clear understanding because you're not hearing anything. It's exact, can you piece together enough to maybe have an idea what's there and what's going on? I was going to say, actually, Steelers Pittsburgh says Dave would look better. I actually was sitting there saying, wow, if we could pixelate out, 80% of the stuff, then maybe people would think we didn't look so bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
And maybe if we got rid of 80% of what we were saying, maybe people would understand us better. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, but it's the whole thing. But we have all the, and you know what? And now, then you get Steelers media. They still don't get 50. They only have a small portion of practice that's open to them during the regular season. But yet, and not only this, a lot of times the ones in the media that have all the answers, they're not ones that are there at practice, but they have all the answers. But those are also some of the ones that the fans flock to because the fans relate to them because they want to feel angered and outraged and feel like their opinion is the only way to. I mean, seriously, that's why so many times I'm like, I trust what's going on behind the scenes because I have no other way to judge it. So, yeah.
Yeah.
You said you had something else you want to talk about from this.
I do.
I do. I wonder if it's the same thing. Saying the last thing was the same thing, asking about the plane and the weather.
I don't know if it is or not, but let me just say this. This is the last thing I have to say about this game. Okay? I hate the fans from Buffalo. I saw what I considered to be some of the most Bush League ridiculous stuff from fans during that game. Kept happening, especially when the Steelers got down inside the 30-yard line, especially on the one end of the stadium.
Throwing
every time the Steelers went to throw a pass, snowballs went flying at the receivers.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
That's Bush League. Those people should not be allowed back in an NFL stadium. That it's not only could you argue that it's not safe, but I'm going to go beyond that. If that's what you all have to do to win football games, should you really even be there? If you feel that's what you have to do for your team to win, should your team really even be there?
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. I'll tell you this. You say about Buffalo fans. Yeah.
Hold on. I'm going to say it. Said that our fans throw snowballs when we scored touchdowns. I'm not talking about when
people
touchdowns
snow
were
and everything
scored.
up in the air when they scored and celebrated.
Balls kept being thrown to George Pickens, and I was thinking I was seeing flags fly, and it was not flags flying at George Pickens. It was snowballs.
Yeah. My thing is I wouldn't say that I don't like Buffalo fans, because there's plenty of Steelers fans that like. You know what I don't like? I'll be honest with you. Just go put it out there. I can't stand. This is from my many experiences at games as well. What I really can't stand is drunk fans.
Oh, yeah.
That just do stupid crap, like throw snowballs at players on the field. And so I bet you the majority of that was probably coming from drunk fans. I don't get the point. I've sat next to drunk fans, and I'm like, and you know what? The more someone has to drink, I hate to say this with some people, the more the racism comes out, the more other things comes out, and it's so frustrating to deal with people. And I'm like, you're missing the game. You're missing the game. I don't get it. I really don't. It drives me nuts. And then they're doing things and saying things that they wouldn't do otherwise. And it just drives me nuts. That's just my own personal pet peeve. I know plenty of people, that's what you like to do and partake in when it comes to football. To me, I want to actually enjoy and be able to rationally understand what's going on.
What I've never understood with fans going to the stadium and being that way is if you are looking at football as an excuse to go get tanked, save your money on the ticket, go down to Buffalo Wild Wings and watch the game and get tanked.
Yeah.
Go to a bar and get tanked.
Rather than pay $11 or whatever. I don't even know how much it is because I've never bought one. What it is, the stadium, I don't know. Or $8.50 or I don't know. I couldn't tell you. Oh, and they don't bring them down. See, that's the thing. Where you are, do you have vendors up where you are that come through?
Nope.
See, there were vendors like crazy when I went to my first Steelers game when I was in the upper deck, Ben's rookie year in 2004. They don't have that. I didn't know if they had them in the upper decks or not anymore. Nope. Or if they just don't do it anymore. But that's the thing that drives me nuts. Either way, you know what? No joke. There was the one time, this is before I had my season tickets. I was one section over. This is when I was sitting next to the drunk girl making racist comments all the time. And said, "You're a big guy. You'll protect me if someone wants to fight me." And I'm just like, why? But anyway, there was another group that there was a fight close to me. And it was a Steelers fan that was there with it was the Mike Glennon Buccaneers game. It was that one.
Okay.
With a Buccaneers fan. Got in a fight with another Steelers. And it was just so dumb. And I'm just like, that's not how I enjoy my football. And that's why I love where my seats are now, because unless I get the occasional, because the ones generally just to the left of me are people that don't normally come and they sell off their tickets. But almost everybody else around me, it's the same people I see every time. So That's just a pet peeve of mine. So I get it how you say about the fans. I want to say that chances are they were probably
I'm sure.
there, and that's the thing. And like Steel Dog says, know your limits. Know your limits. Know your limits.
Right.
Then you're doing stupid stuff and making yourself look like a fool when you could, and honestly, that's what gives many fan bases a bad name about their fans. I know people are like, oh, Steelers fans are ridiculous. The one time I went to Baltimore and went to a game, the guy that I sat next to said to me, he's like, you are unlike any other Steelers fan I ever met in my life. I said, thank you. Because we sat there and we talked about the game.
Right. I have had those same experiences with fans from other teams. Sat and had good conversations. And and had those things. And I think
sorry.
Drinking too.
Hey, Jerry, in case you missed it, you got a double play at the beginning of the show.
Yeah, and Jerry Cherry, let me say this. That would explain all the missed tackles.
Yes, that would. Yeah. So we don't need to talk about that much more. We still have more things to talk about.
Yep.
Here's my other thing from the game.
Okay.
I would like to say that I would like to say that TJ Watt is a game changer, which is true. I'm going to add another word to that statement. TJ Watt is a game plan changer. He influences your offensive game plan so much. It's not that Marcus Golden didn't have a quality game or Nick Herbig, although they didn't play him that much. He played like, I think 20 snaps, which was more than I felt like I saw him out there. But when I saw the number today, but TJ Watt makes you do things differently.
Not just that, TJ Watt has the ability himself to, I'll just kind of dissect and get a quick understanding of your game plan and figures out how to continue to wreck it. And as you make changes, he recognizes them, continues to make changes himself, continues to wreck your game plan.
Yes. You could see that the Bills felt like they could do what they wanted to do. That's what felt different about this game than all the rest of the games this season. Maybe some people felt like it was the same old playoff game. To me, it felt different, but I was struggling with pinpointing why. And to me, the pinpoint was the Bills did not respect the Steelers' defense without TJ Watt. It's not that they didn't respect it, but without TJ Watt, you didn't have to worry about that part of it.
TJ Watt can take a team's offense, the entire offense, and knock them off their spot.
Yes.
The Bills were never knocked off their spot yesterday.
Yeah.
They were not.
TJ Watt can dictate what he wants to do, and you have to plan around him. The Bills, They decided what they wanted to do and was like, good luck stopping it. With TJ Watt there, you don't have to. And I know people were saying we heard this last year a bunch when he missed all this time. Oh, if your defense is so dependent on one player, then that's just a problem. But if you have the best defensive player in the league and you don't make him something special, then shame on you. Then what's the point of having him?
Right. And what ends up happening is a trickle-down effect. So, TJ Watt has an effect here, which allows something to go there and another player be able to take advantage of situations. You just didn't feel that same cascading effect when TJ's not in the game.
Mm-hmm.
But, I will bring something up. Somebody way back at the beginning of the show made a comment about Alex Highsmith that said, hey, they paid him this money and the guy didn't show up yesterday. That guy's game was twice as good. His stat line was twice as good as Myles Garrett's stat line from the Cleveland game, is all I can say. So,
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. Alex Highsmith, good player. You don't have to change your game plan because of him.
Right.
There you go. All right. You brought it up. I knew we had one.
Yep.
Okay. Super chat. Master P, $9.99. Thank you for the tip. Thank you very much. Sad to see the season without a playoff win. I feel like if TJ plays, there was a possibility of a different outcome. However, looking in the future, do you think if Penix is available at 20, they do it? I'll be honest with you. I am 24 hours away from this season being done. We are wrapping up this season. I haven't even begun to look at draft stuff. I will start that soon.
I'll start soon. I really won't start looking and thinking about it in earnest until after the Super Bowl, honestly.
Well, I mean, I'll probably start my mock draft Monday articles on Monday. So that'll be the first time looking at stuff.
Draft Monday.
Yep, that's what I was used to say year after year. Just another mock draft Monday until now. I also throw in there's only one way to mock.
Yes.
So there's something else I want to bring up. I know we're running a little bit late. Okay. And this Steelers freak said, Dave, your comment that the NFL wanted the Bills to win and rigged it was disheartening for me. If you believe the NFL is rigged, why should we watch it? I didn't say it was rigged. Rigged means that they would completely fix it and do anything for the outcome. But you can't say that there's sometimes not a tendency to call one thing or another. And that was Jeff talked about it in Winners and Losers on his Let's Ride podcast special edition this morning. And so it's not, and you're like, well, if the officials are doing anything at all, then it's no. For someone who was a softball umpire, I can tell you that there's times that if it's a borderline call, how you feel about one team versus the other can influence your decision. Whether that team is winning, whether that team is losing, whether that team is really, really nice, whether that team is a bunch of jerks, that'll influence you. I'll be honest with you, and that's what I think. Yep. I still think Pat Freiermuth's fumble was a fumble. I think it was a fumble. I mean, the one thing that I did like about that review process, but the NFL doesn't do this often enough to make me believe it, is that you go into the review process with the call on the field and you are looking for something to definitively overturn it.
Yes.
Not to make the right call, to overturn the call on the field. That's what it's supposed to be. And in that case, that's what they did. And that's why they said you couldn't tell if it grazed his helmet. You couldn't tell if he had complete possession before his shoulder hit down. They left the call on the field. But that's not usually what the NFL does. They'll usually just go in and want to just try to look at everything. And they'll make the burden of proof to have to prove that they have to believe what the call was. And that's not the way they're supposed to do it. But to me, if that's a tie game, or if the Steelers are ahead by a touchdown, that's Buffalo ball.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But I'm just saying, because you'll always have a human element of the game. I'm just saying that the human element can swing one way or the other, and it just seemed, I mean, the officiating did not cost the Steelers a game. I know George Pickens was getting frustrated. I remember last night there was a call. It was an odd. Then they're talking about it was in the second half because I didn't start watching the game until the second half. That's an obvious pass interference. I'm like, that's the exact same thing that happened to George Pickens on fourth down.
Yep.
So, yeah. So the thing is, and it's not that, and sometimes you feel like it might be intentional, or sometimes, and to say there's no such thing as a makeup call is crazy. It happens. It does. You have a close call that goes against one team. Next time you get a close call, it's probably going to go against the other team.
Yep.
It's called the human element. You'll never take it out of there.
Human element is the human element.
Yeah, and you'll never take it out of the game as long as you have the officials. So when I'm just saying that the human element in this one at times, I felt it favored Pittsburgh early on, but as they started to come back, maybe it's like, maybe we shouldn't have given that fumble back, called that not a fumble.
Yeah.
And now they're making this a little bit close. And did we influence that too much early on? we're still going to call that a penalty, even though the ball was thrown in the front row. We'll just have to call it holding because we have nothing else to do. That kind of thing. So, all right.
I can't believe it. Okay, you got to let me do this because I got to do it. Okay, I'm going to do it. Oh, all right. George says, I'm on Hartman's side. I'm tired of mediocre play, but if you two defend this average team at all costs, you all really enjoy this kind of football. I would like change. Look, George, I'm not saying that I don't want the Steelers to win the Super Bowl. Okay, but I knew going into the preseason, the chances of this team winning the Super Bowl were about 3%, and that might have been a gift. Okay, really, when you get to the end of the season, if really that's how you feel, that you want to get off the wagon, you know what? Get off the wagon, go get on somebody else's wagon. That's what you really want to do.
Yeah.
It's,
all right.
It's
now I didn't know if I would go there, but now I'm about ready to go there. You know what the most annoying thing that I've heard over the last 24 hours? And that is Steelers fans deserve better. That's an absolute joke. You deserve nothing. You deserve nothing. You are the fan of a team. If you think you deserve something from this team, okay? Oh, 6 Lombardi. You didn't win 6 Lombardi trophies. You had nothing to do with it.
And there are very few out there that even watched 6 Lombardis be won.
Yes. They don't owe you anything. Now, should they, for themselves, for the organization, for the Roonies, it's not critical, but for their bottom line, for their best income, want to put the best product on the field that they can, absolutely. But they don't owe it to you. You, like Steelers fans, deserve better. You deserve nothing. You deserve nothing.
Yeah.
If all you are is a Steelers fan, then my goodness, go find a hobby. I love my Steelers. They are my hobby. But you know what? I don't love them more than my family. I love them more than my kids. There's so much more to it than that otherwise. But it's like, and does this affect have the Steelers play and everything affect my everyday life? Yeah, it does. But I'll be honest, I'm the first one to admit that it shouldn't as much as it does. But they don't owe it to me. I'm not something special because I'm a Steelers fan. I'm not. The Steelers fans don't. We deserve better. Oh, this is a story. You want to know what? The Steelers aren't anything. You really want to say the Steelers are nothing? Dan Rooney's everything. They've never won a playoff game before him. They've never won a playoff game since him. He is everything.
Yeah.
Not the Pittsburgh Steelers. It was what he made the Pittsburgh Steelers. And until they can get past that, that's just the way it's going to be. Okay? So don't feel that the Steelers owe you something. Okay? You know what? Because the Steelers gave me a great gift. They gave me an extra football game yesterday to watch.
That I was not expecting to get.
Yeah. So, and I'm not even saying anyone in the live chat or anyone there is the ones that are saying this. I'm going off of this because of stuff that I just saw having to try to cover the team as things are going on today and some of the ridiculousness that I just saw and heard. So please don't take offense to this in the live chat. But you all might have seen it too, just out there with everything. And it's just that people feel like the Steelers owe them something. You know what? Yes, you pay your money to go to the games if you choose to. You buy a Sunday ticket if you choose to. Okay, you know what? If it's not if it's not going to bring you happiness and joy and be worth it, then don't do it. Don't do it. Yeah. If the Steelers don't owe me anything as a season ticket holder, other than to actually let me in the stadium and watch the games that I've paid for, I'm the one choosing to pay for it. I am.
Right.
So
you choose to go because you enjoy it. So, do we enjoy it much more when you go and they win? Yes, we do.
Yeah.
Yes, we do.
Yes. And honestly, bottom line is, I'm going to say it again. The Steelers once again overachieved.
And yes,
constantly bet the over when they come out for the Steelers win totals. Because once again, I got to go back and see how many straight years it is. I think the last time the Steelers didn't hit it was when Ben Roethlisberger got hurt. But they keep hitting the over. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So to me, they overachieved. They made it into the playoff. Would it have been better if they could have won one more of those other games? Of those three that they lost and not been the 7 seed and not had to go to Buffalo? Yes. I think it could have been, or we might have seen more of the same. But I also, like I said, Mike Tomlin said this to Bob Labriola before the game in their little interview that they did. I said it in my closing thoughts on the preview, and that is these players in the 2023 Steelers have nothing to do with the Steelers not winning a playoff game in 2017. Mike Tomlin even said, that's my burden, not theirs. He's right.
Yeah.
We as fans, we feel like that's part of our Steelers team because that's who we are as fans, and we've experienced that long. But that has nothing to do with this team. This team this year didn't owe us for no playoff wins since the 2016 season. They don't owe us anything. They go out there, get better, do what they have to do. One thing we didn't touch on much anymore, for those that don't want to hear it, the conversation is going to pretty much be over. Mike Tom's coming back next year. Brian and Jeff did the Breaking News podcast this morning. Our inside source let us know. The Rooneys, 100%, they're behind Mike Tomlin. They want him back. Mike Tomlin is reported today, announced to the team that his decision is to come back for 2024. He's coming back. So for those of you talking about other head coaches, this, that, and the other, it's time to focus on other things this offseason that's going to bring that. Rich, we didn't get to wrap up as much about this season as I thought we would because we got
we got off going about the game and that. But honestly, we talked about each game as we went along. This really was the wrap up to our season.
Yeah.
We did touch on things. We touched on the fact that, after the Colts game, I thought at that point in time that if they weren't mathematically eliminated, the Steelers were so close to being mathematically eliminated.
It was a pipe
dream. Never
dream.
get in.
Yeah.
And they still got in.
Yep.
Imagine if you're sorry, Drew, Jaguars fan, that ended up not getting in, that folded. Okay. And you think we have it bad? Okay. One last thing I'll bring. You all think we have it bad?
Yeah.
Be glad you're not an Eagles fan right now.
Oh, my goodness. That one, yikes.
That team over the last 6-7 games just folded.
No, Jeff had said it to me. I don't know if he said it on a show or not, but he said it to me when we talked otherwise. That Eagles team, that was the 2020 Steelers.
Yeah.
And Jeff's been saying it to me for weeks. For weeks.
And you knew it was bad when I saw some very, 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 some very serious Eagles fans that I know all saying before their game even, was ready to go. Like when Dallas lost, they laughed, some of them laughed and they were glad about that. They were like, we're just glad because our season's already over, that at least Dallas's is over too. And the Eagles hadn't even played yet. Like they had already written it off that the Eagles would lose.
Well, I didn't think they'd lose to Tampa because I thought Tampa was terrible. But they sure did.
They were writing off the loss to Tampa. And
wow.
These are diehard Eagles fans.
But you know what? Steelers fans are like, hey, they got to go to the Super Bowl last year. That's a lot more than what we've got to enjoy for a long time.
Yes, it is.
But it is. So I'll give you that too.
But if
Fitzman 39 wants to know about the OC, those are the kind of things that are to be excited about that are to come this offseason. Go ahead, Rich. If you wanted to say
I was just going to say that, you think about the Steelers and, we sit here and we're already talking about, the OC or the warts on this team and what's bad or what's going to be done or we need to overhaul everything. Yeah, also getting tired of seeing the posts of we got to do this and this and this. And it's like, dude, we don't have enough money to go after all these players you want to go after. Yeah. But it's, we see our fans sitting here doing this. How do you think Eagles fans are feeling right now? Honestly, how do you think Cowboy fans are feeling right now? I mean, there's another one if you want to talk about. Suddenly the Cowboys, 3 straight 12-win seasons and can't win a playoff game.
Yeah. But of the 8 teams left, 7 of them are going to lose. Some of them are going to lose. So, I mean, they're going to be feeling here, asking questions a lot like we are. A couple things I want to address, and I'm not even going to bring up because there was some of his discussion. I think it was Afton that asked about Cam. Cam Hayward said today about he was hoping to be back. It was reported Cam's injury Cam was beat up this year. Yeah. He was in bad shape. I mean, he actually hurt his groin in training camp and then had a complete tear in week 1. He should have been out through 12 weeks and only missed 6 or 7. So he was in rough shape. He was a shell of himself. You could say it's age, but it also was injury. I could see him trying to go one more to see if he can do it without injury and see how it goes. He's a really big cap number for the Steelers. I think they got to do something, even if it's extension that's not for very much, knowing that they might not get it all to him eventually. To knock that number down. There'll be lots of cap stuff going on. Things of that nature. Players will be cut. We'll be talking about those. But something else I wanted to say because someone I was going to bring up a comment a while ago and we were on a different subject. So I'm sorry that I lost it. And they said that the worst thing with Matt Canada is you still not know what you have in your quarterbacks. Jeff called it when he said the Steelers need to get rid of Matt Canada now for nothing more to know what you got in Kenny Pickett. And then Kenny Pickett got hurt.
Yeah, Pickett got hurt.
He played one game. They didn't score many points, but had a lot of yards. They were working on it. Then he played not even, just over a quarter of the next game, like a quarter and a half before he got hurt. And then that was it.
Yeah.
People were like, well, Mason was better than Kenny, blah, blah, blah. I mean, that's going to be a lot of stuff that we'll talk about. Afton gave us $5. Said thanks for the great show, guys. We're running way over, but we got to do a final question.
Yep,
we have to because it's our tradition. Should I do the one that I said, or do we have a faster one?
No, do the one you said because I've already got an answer for it.
Okay, so you all have to do this. Try to keep your answers short. I will as well. Rich, what was your top moment from the 2023 season for the Steelers? It could be a game. Moment. It could be a play. It could be something off. It could be anything. Top moment from the season.
Okay, it's going to be a game and a play within that game in particular. So, top moment for me for the season would have been the thing I'm going to always look back on fondly is week 2, Monday night at home against Cleveland. Went to the game with my daughter, and Alex Highsmith scoring a touchdown on the first play from scrimmage.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and give mine. I'm going to put this out there so people can start typing to put your top moment. Me, the top moment was, even though they didn't score a lot of points, the Steelers turning around and beating the Bengals the first time as the first game after Matt Canada.
Mm-hmm.
That one was a top moment, but it might have right there equal because I'm going to put them together. The Steelers turning it around after the losing streak, going to Mason Rudolph and beating the Bengals again.
Yes.
So to me, it's the 2 wins, and yet you could talk about both wins over the Ravens were nice, but what was leading up to the changes in the Steelers for both wins that happened over the Bengals. So to me, that's the way I'm going. Afton, she says that it was TJ's touchdown. That was the same game as yours. Steel Dog 88 says TJ Watt strip sacking Watson. Did he strip sack Watson, or was I thought it was Highsmith did the strip sack and TJ returned the touchdown? Yeah. John S said the TJ Watt no helmet sack.
Steelers, that was pretty cool.
Steelers Pittsburgh says Mason's play. There you go. That's a good one. Yeah. Okay. Thomas Riley says Mason helping the Steelers beat the Seahawks in Seattle first time in a long time. Steelers Freak That's a good point. Benching Mitch.
You
know, I'll be honest with you. You took at it from the negative. We could spin it a positive and just say the same thing and say Mason getting the start. You could with that.
Yeah.
Or what Art said. Mine was finally giving Mason a shot at playing. Anthony, was that Picano? Says Mason saving the season. Sherry said winning the 3 straight to make the playoffs. I'll be honest with you, another one of the top moments for me was the end of the Tennessee Jacksonville game, knowing that the Steelers made it in. Okay?
Yep.
Steelers Freak says the Rams. He was there. That was a big one coming off the bye and everything. That was another big one. Outside Steeler fan said being in Seattle to watch Mason lead us to victory and ending our losing streak, going back to 83. See, my thing is I can't say what was the best for me in stadium because I had the worst experience ever. That was the Cardinals evacuate twice and not even win the game. Thomas Seed says, 19 sacks. Here, Anthony Daniels says JPJ's interception against the Ravens. That was a good one. Steelers Reaper. Warren's block on that linebacker. Yeah, that was Jermaine Pratt up on CA3's rushing touchdown against the Bengals.
That was pretty sweet.
Mm-hmm. Gavin Anthony says, didn't see a big offensive play. He said the Deontay Johnson touchdown against Baltimore. All right. I'm sorry.
Is that true?
At least you didn't get to the stadium and be told you no, that didn't happen to her. That's what happened to Bad in Las Vegas.
Oh, that. Oh, yeah, that's true. Yes, the Bad in Las Vegas.
Okay. Clarence Dudley Jr. says was the first Bengals game. He was there. Okay. Gavin Anthony also says Pickens go ahead touchdown in the first Baltimore game. That was a great moment. So that was a great moment. That really was a great moment. It really was.
To which
remember that there was great moments from 2023.
To which Sherry followed that up with the look on Canada's face on the Pickens touchdown.
Yeah. Brent Howell says the win in Vegas. He was there. Okay. Because Gavin retracted a message, but he forgets that we can still bring him up here. Still not getting it. I already had one, but Canada's first game on the sideline was the false sense of security. Yeah. But notice a lot of them, a lot of these experiences were people like at the game or maybe even something special going on. I enjoyed that the second Bengals game a lot too because they put up all those points, and I watched it with my dad. And it was a good game, you know. So I enjoyed the Seattle game. Watched it with our brother-in-law on New Year's Eve. So some of those things, it sometimes it has to do with your experience in the stadium or with those around you. Remember that, Steelers fans. Yes, there's a lot of things that you can be frustrated about, but there was also a lot of good moments from this last season. There's a lot of things you could say, if only. Like, to me,
every team can say that.
I know. If I had one mulligan, and I might call it 2 mulligans, if only the Steelers had won 1 or 2 of those games in that 3-game losing streak, and they would have been locked into a spot like the Browns were, then you might not have even played TJ Watt the last game of the season.
Yeah.
So I was good. I was wondering this. I was hoping. I was looking for him the whole time in the live chat. I'm glad we went over because we got him. Occam's Ox, because, said was going to the game. Didn't know if that was still going to happen when the game got moved. Said went to the game. Good to know. Their fans were shook when they made it 24-17. The Steelers had them worried. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You could feel that. You could feel that even on TV in the stadium.
And that was the drive. And then there was some calls, and then there was some non-tackles, and the Steelers never got a chance to actually possess the ball with a chance to tie it. They never had a chance to. After the George Pickens fumble, the Steelers offense never had the ball with a chance to tie the game.
Yeah, and that's it. That's sad a little bit, but They at least got it to within 7. How many teams got down big and never got it back inside of double digits?
Yeah. You know? He said, yeah, all comes out says they were dead quiet. Yeah. They're like, wait a second. Yeah. And just think, and I know we could say, man, if only the Steelers didn't spot them those points early and everything else, but yeah. To add one more thing, I'll just leave it with this. Steelers Freak said at the Rams game, it reinforced how big and far the nation umbrella is. It was a home game. Yeah. There was a lot of games that the Steelers fans represented well in the stadiums. All right. So, hey, we're still going to be, we're almost done with these compressed shows.
Almost back on schedule.
Yeah. I know the Steelers Fix is going tomorrow, because there is no Steel City Insider yet. It'll be later in the week. By then, we should be back to things. I don't know how the weekend's going to be. No more last-minute thoughts. If we're going to be, we might have a different show. I know Brian and I used to do the week that was. We might have a similar show, but it might be done by someone else. There'll be more news on that as that gets closer. Keep checking out steelcurdnetwork.com. We're still, bringing the content there. The podcasts aren't going away. The articles aren't going away. They just shift to something different. Rich, what do you have to say to close us out tonight?
I can't believe we're here. It seems like we just started. The season always ends up going so quickly. It's like you wait. We hit the beginning, and next thing you know, it's done. But it was fun. It was.
It had its ups and downs.
It had its downs. It had the good. It had the bad. It had the ugly. Had it all. Almost every season does. Right? We got to remember, just trying to remember as fans that really we're just going along for the ride. We're there for the ride. What we say or do or think or feel really doesn't change much of anything. But boy, do I enjoy the ride.
Yeah,
I do. And I'm going to look back, and there are things that I wish would have been better or done differently, or thought about this or done that, or played this guy, or if this guy doesn't get hurt. And there's all kinds of time to sit and look back at those things, right? But I enjoyed the ride. The sad part is right now the ride's over. And we're going to be, you go from riding the exciting roller coaster for Pittsburgh fans. We'll say we go from riding the Phantom's Revenge to riding, the Turtles.
The Turtles.
Right? So, if those of you that don't know that, go
kangaroo.
Oh, no. Hey, the kangaroo is good. You know that they took it out, and they
brought it back. Yeah.
Yep. So our ride is going to change for several months. It's going to be a different ride. But I take that ride in anticipation. It's almost like that's what I'm doing while I'm standing in line to get on the Phantom's Revenge again. And there's going to be time, and we're going to have lots to talk about in here. And some is going to be good, and some is going to be bad, and some is going to be ugly. But I'm going to go through it all because I just can't wait to get back to the front of the line and get on that roller coaster again next season. Can't wait.
Can't wait.